Hey She Friends, I'm so excited to be starting this new study on Proverbs 31 with you guys. I can't wait for you to dig in and find out what a Proverbs 31 woman looks like in this 2018. As we know, this Proverbs 31, the references when I got to study, this was written thousands and thousands of years ago. So I really wanted to emphasize on how we can relate to this Proverbs 31 woman today. And what does that look like? What does it look like to be a Proverbs 31 woman? So this is very similar to our root study. I will be taking verses, verse by verse, and breaking it down and really explaining and going into depth what it is going, really good information. Before we start, I want to give you a little bit of history on Proverbs, on verses 31 through 10 through 15, who wrote it. Just a little bit of history, just so we know exactly what we're getting ready to get into. So if you have your Bible, go ahead and pull it out. That way we can go together. I know that a lot of us have different translations of the Bible, like some like NIV, some like the old King James Version. Mine is a Holman Christian Standard Bible. It's a study reference Bible, and I really love it because at the end, at the very bottom of the Bible, it has a lot of notes in reference to the verses. And I just love, sometimes when you just read a verse, you're just kind of like, well, what does that mean? It kind of leaves you hanging. So I love that at the bottom you can look and it's just got more in depth in reference to that verse. So Proverbs 31 was written supposedly by King Lemuel. I believe that's how you pronounce it. But when I dug around and started researching who he was, there's a little bit of they were never sure who wrote it. Some believe that King Lemuel was reference to King Solomon, and that was an endearment name that his mother used to call him when he was younger. Some other scholars believe that King Lemuel was a distant cousin of David, or somehow in relation to King David, who was another king in another Israel area. So that was interesting. If you read down below, you kind of hear a woman's point of view as well. And you can tell that there's a conversation going on between that king and the king's mother as an acrostic poem. And obviously our Bibles are not in Hebrew, so we don't really see that pattern. But in the original text, it was written out as an acrostic poem. And what that means is that it spells out each letter of the alphabet in order. This is also something done through the book of Lamentations, as we see in this proverb, and also through the book of Psalms. And I wanted to highlight one of the Psalms that was done in was Psalm 119. Our class in our church just did a in-depth study of Psalm 119. It is the longest psalm written, and it's by King David, and it's so beautiful. I love it because you can really see the struggle of man, but then the grace of God. So, we can so relate because sometimes we're our biggest enemy, but then God comes in and he tells us that he loves us and that he wants the best for us. So if you have not read Psalm 119, I urge you to read it. It's a little bit long. It's a lot of information, so you may want to do it for like a month and study it, but it's beautiful. So that's about all the history I'm going to share with you today. And let's get started. So if you have your Bible, like I said, just follow along with me. We're going to do verse by verse. So in verse 10, it says, "Who can find a capable wife? She is far more precious than jewels." I'm going to give you the definition of capable. Capable, the definition is to achieve a specific thing or achieve something efficiently. So immediately you might be thinking, well, hold on, that's not me. I don't achieve things efficiently, or, my life is hectic. I'm not. I can't put goals that I can't achieve. But hold on a second, because I don't get all panicky. Who can find a capable wife? That's in reference of a question. Really, when I read that verse, to me, it says that we're capable of doing many things. And as a woman, we wear different hats. And I just feel like, yeah, we can all relate to that capable wife. And then the second half of that verse says, she is far more precious than jewels. What are jewels considered? Jewels are considered beautiful. People love to look at them, right? They sparkle. For some, it's a sign of financial wealth. And they're considered very valuable. To me, that lets me know that we're considered valuable, that we are precious. And one other thing that I wanted to tell you is, this is something that I struggle with, thinking of my self-worth. Don't think of yourself less than. And this is directly talking to me. Like I shared on the Facebook Live, if you were able to join yesterday, I struggle with feeling valuable. I struggle with feeling precious. And when I read that verse, she is far more precious than jewels, that just lets me know that God appreciates me, and that whoever you're going into a relationship with should appreciate you. You are very precious. So don't think of yourself less than. And like I shared with you, I'm really talking to myself, because there's days when I get up and I have doubts and I don't feel like I'm capable. I don't feel like I'm capable of achieving those things that I have set out for the day or for the week. And many times I fail. But with Christ, with His help, I can achieve, right? What does the word say? Through Christ, He gives us strength, and we can achieve all things. Let's go to verse 11. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will not lack anything good. I'm going to read you this reference down here in my notes, because I love what it said. This is the only case where the Bible commends trusting in anything but God. Her husband can trust her because she is godly. Did you guys catch that? This is the only case in the Bible that references trusting in anything but God. And it's specifically talking about us, women. The heart of her husband trusts in her. Not only is our husband going to trust us, right? Why? Because we're going to be honest. We're going to honor our husbands. We're going to trust in God. When we trust in God, and not only that, not only do we trust in God, but God trusts in us. God is trusting us because we are godly. And that is just such an honor, that God can trust us women with the things that He gives us, with our families, with our jobs. And I know that some of you may not be married, and you're single, and you're still, trying to find that spouse, or you're a hardworking woman, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Be a trustworthy person. The second half of that verse, and he will not lack anything good. Another translation, the NLT says, and she will greatly enrich his life. Are we enriching people's life? What are we leaving our first impressions with people when they meet us? Are we enriching them? He will not lack anything good. And if we put our trust in God, right? If we put our hope and our trust in God, we will not lack anything as well, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Let's move on to verse 12. She rewards him with good, not evil, all the days of her life. And I have to kind of say this is an unrealistic verse for me, because sometimes I want to fight. Sometimes, we can't help it. We're moody. We have all these things coming at us. We're stressed. And sometimes we're just not that happy-go-lucky person. And who takes the worst? Really, our families. Our families get the brunt of us when things don't go, like we want them to. So sometimes, yeah, I stink at giving my husband, rewards him with good. I stink at that because I'm having a bad day. But I have to recognize that. I have to recognize that and acknowledge that I'm wrong. And also, this verse just tells me to check myself continually. I continually have to check myself, check my attitude, so I don't reward him with evil. Verse 13, let's move on. She selects wool and flax and works with willing hands. Wool, when I think of wool, I think of like the people going down into the field, like the farmers, and actually getting a sheep and like shaving the wool off of their back. That's what I think about when I read that verse. And flax. How many of you have heard flax seeds? Oh, throw some flax seeds on this food. Like, that's really popular right now. That's really popular. And what are we doing with willing hands? I want to point that out. Well, let's think about that for a minute. What do we do throughout our day? We get up. Some of us have children. Some of us have to work a full-time job. Some of us got to cook dinner, do homework, take them to their after-school activities. We have church commitments. Some of us have family members that, our extended family members that we have to take care of. We're a daughter, we're a wife, we're a friend. And we have all these things that we have to do, but are we doing them willingly, with willing hands? And that's again, that comes back to like a character thing. How are we doing that? So I want to ask you that question. How are you doing it willing? Are you working with willing hands? Are you preparing things throughout your day for your family with willing hands? Let's move on to verse 14. She is like the merchant ships bringing her food from afar. I gotta be honest, when I first read that verse, it didn't really speak to me, and I was like, how does this relate? How can we relate to this? But the more that I studied out merchant ships and exactly what they did, I kind of got a revelation. So what are ships? Ships, we know that they navigate the sea, especially merchant ships. They are taking cargo from one country to another country and unloading. So let's say like the USA, they have a cargo ship that is going to China. Well, obviously when they get to their destination, they have to unload everything from their truck and leave it there, right? So that ship is empty because everything on that ship was going to a specific place. So how can we relate to that? We got to know where we're going. As a woman, we got to know where we're going. What's our destination? What is our goal? What is our goal for the day? If you are overwhelmed, I know that when I was a young mom, I had 3 kids and I was just like overwhelmed and I couldn't really plan out a week or a month in advance. I had to just literally take moment by moment, and that's okay. That's okay. Take your time. Know where you're going. Make a plan. If you can't make a plan for the week, make a plan for the day, moment by moment. As a wife, as a mother, we've got to make decisions that are wise for our family. So thinking before we act is very important. So going back to the reference, she is like the merchant ships. Also, that spoke to me in the form of that when we do something, do it with all that we have. And you leave everything out on the table. So basically you keep nothing for yourself. That's called being selfless for your family, for your friends. But also, isn't that what Jesus showed us to do, to be selfless, to keep nothing for ourselves and to give all that we have? I just kind of want to leave you with that thought. All right, let's move on to verse 15. She rises while it is still night and provides food for her household and portions for her female servants. She rises while it is still night. A lot of us can relate to that verse. A lot of us have to get up before the sun comes out to get ready for our day. And Monday through Friday, that's 5 days that we're doing that. And that can be, wear and tear on us physically. I know sometimes physically, since I turned 35, I've had so many problems physically. I don't know if that's you turn 35 and you're going down the hill, but my back went out and I've never had that happen to me. But it makes it hard getting up in the morning. So I have to get up a little bit earlier because I know that the pain's going to be there for a couple of minutes. So before I go and wake up my kids, I need those 5 minutes to myself to straighten out my back. So rising before the sun comes, whether it be, you may be getting up to say, you know what, this is my time with Jesus. I've got to do my devotions with him. You may be getting up to get ready to work your full-time job or get your family up for the day. She rises while it is still night. The second part of that verse is, and provides food for her household. I hate food shopping. I hate food shopping. I hate it. And I am so thankful that sometimes you can go online and click on what you need, but I really do. I'd rather go out to eat than to have to go food shopping and cook. But, sometimes if I want my family to eat healthy, I've got to do that. The third part of that verse, and portions for her female servants. I want to highlight that. You know, every time I read that, I get a different revelation. And portions for her female servants. So this woman, again, doesn't keep everything for herself. She loves to share. She's kind. She keeps nothing for herself. She's always thinking of others. So I love that. I think that we need more of that. That women, we crave for that. We crave for community. We crave for friendships. We crave for acknowledgement. This woman is selfless. I love it. I love that the Bible highlights that. I love that, you know, they're giving us an example to go by. Again, what does that look like in 2018? Reaching out. What is she all about? Sharing, healing, empowering. We want to share with you what is happening in our lives. We want to be able to relate. You know, yes, life is hard and we have daily things going on, but when we come together, we share, and with sharing, we can relate. It brings healing to our heart, to our soul, to our mind, to our body, and we're empowering one another to say, you know what? Yes, things happen. With God, we can make it. With each other, it gives us strength. And guys, we can live life. It's okay. We're not perfect. We're never going to be perfect. And I encourage you too to dig in your word, dig in your Bible, get in, this is meat, right? How many times have we heard that? This is meat. It feeds us. It gives us strength. I don't know how people do it and they go day to day and don't read the word. Like, I need to read. I need to hear something that I can relate to. I need to know where I'm going. So I encourage you to get in this word and get in that relationship in your secret place with the Lord and let him speak to you. All right, so we'll be back next week with the next 5 verses, 16 through 20. And I hope that y'all have a great rest of your day.